5 years ago, Marcus Grimm was just like every other freelancer on Upwork trying to get work, but his persistence and professionalism paid off. Today, Marcus is close to joining the $1 million club on Upwork, and in this interview, he shares his journey from his first job for $100 to earning hundreds of thousands on the platform. One thing I found interesting in this interview is how he focuses on hourly work while charging $200 an hour. And yes, he uses the Upwork time tracker. So let's meet Marcus. Marcus, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us.
Sean, I am thrilled to be here with you today. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. So I found you on X. I follow a lot of people on X that are in Upwork, and you made a big announcement, which is you are very close to reaching $1 million of earnings on Upwork. How's it going? How close are you?
Yeah, so I appreciate it. I just passed the 900,000 mark. So joined the platform 5 years ago, and I think like everyone, like you pay attention to that ticker on there, right? And so I definitely I've been watching it go, and I just passed the 900, and I said in that post that look, I'm going to keep the clock watching up until I hit $1 million, and then probably I'll find another goal. But yeah, just past 900, and the other piece that I do like to share right out of the gate for people is that's not 900,000 agency revenue. I am a sole practitioner, so that is me pretty much running the hourly timer. So, and nothing against people that run the agency model, but
I hear you. No, I understand. So let's, for our audience, just so they know, and what is it specifically you provide on Upwork? And also, and I think this is really interesting, your hourly rate on Upwork. So what do you do? How much do you charge?
So the simplest way to describe what I do is marketing strategist. I work exclusively with B2B brands, so I don't do anything on the consumer side. There's a new industry term called fractional chief marketing officer, which I've been forced to embrace because SEO matters, right? But realistically, what I do is I work with a lot of businesses, tend to be small to medium sized businesses, anywhere from 2 million in revenue to $50 million in revenue, where they want somebody who can bring in some strategic guidance for their marketing department, but they can't afford or don't want to spend money on a full-time CMO. So I do that for a handful of companies at a time.
Gotcha. And your hourly rate on Upwork?
So I started at $50 an hour 5 years ago, and right now I'm at 200 an hour. One of the rules that I have for my clients is it's kind of like buying a stock. Whatever you come at, I keep you at. So I still have one client on there at 150. I've got a lot of 180, and I've got a few at 200, and that's how I roll with it.
Oh, okay, hold on, Marcus. Hold on. You're blowing a lot of myths right here. Okay, Upwork is only for low cost talent.
Right.
Upwork does not have highly sophisticated people on there. You are really blowing those myths apart right now, Marcus. Okay, shame on you.
Well, and one of the things that I always find fascinating when people like share those myths is like they don't realize the scale of Upwork. Okay, it would almost be like if I said to you that like, oh, Amazon only sells cheap stuff, or Amazon only sells this type of. No, Amazon is huge. Guess what? Whatever you want to find on Amazon, you can find it. Same thing's true on Upwork. Okay, you want to find cheap talent, you want to find cheap clients. Yeah, they're there. But so are the high-end companies, so are the enterprise clients, so are the people willing to pay for good talent.
And that, I'm so glad you said that, and I think your success is evidence of it, is that, there are some great clients on that platform and clients willing to spend large amounts of money. And there's also, but, they are rare. I mean, let's be frank also, but they're not so rare that you can't get to them. And obviously, based on your success, you've been able to get to them. But I do think it takes a certain amount of strategy work, and it takes persistence, and it takes some skill. So let's talk about, today, what does your average day, week look like on Upwork, given that you're at a fairly high level of earnings so far? What does it look like today for you?
Yeah, so what it looks like now is most months, the average client who comes on board with me, I'd say the average, and of course there's exceptions, but generally when people bring me on board, they're going to work with me anywhere from 4 to 7 months, and most of those contracts tend to land around 10 hours a week. And then I've got people that I've been with for months or years, and they might need me to come in and just do an hour or two a week. So in a typical month right now, I'm going to bill about six different clients. I'm going to bill 35 to 40 hours a week, and most of that work is on the hourly timer. And at this point, this month was an interesting month in that about 65% of my revenue is going to come from Upwork. The other 35% is off Upwork. However, 95% of that 35%, it's a long-term client that I had on Upwork that after 2 years, I moved them off platform.
Gotcha.
So this is a very, very typical month for me. It's actually been one of my best months ever. And 98% of that revenue can be sourced right to Upwork.
Yeah, that's really very, very interesting because I do find that, in staying with the terms of service that Upwork provides, which we, all recommend following. But I will say that, the more activity you put into the world, the more organic traffic that comes to you as well. Because clients that are looking to spend a lot of money don't just look at one reference point, right?
Correct.
They're looking all over the place, and making sure that as a freelancer, your online profile, be it your website, be it your social media, be it your Upwork profile, be it, LinkedIn, whatever, to be discoverable is very important. Because, and I'll give you a case point that I did. I hired someone who was also like you, based in, he was based in Colorado, very expensive services. I did a lot of homework before I went and hired him. And even though I found him on LinkedIn, even though I saw his website, even though I saw all of that, I still deferred to hiring him on Upwork because it was a new relationship, because I wanted the protection that Upwork provided to make sure that maybe if I'm wrong, at least there's some protection as a client when dealing with someone who is charging quite a bit of money. But I validated it by searching for him online, even though I ended up hiring him on Upwork. So
absolutely, it's super smart, right? And I've done the same thing where if somebody reaches out to me on LinkedIn and I don't know them from Adam, I will encourage them. I'll say, do you have an Upwork account? Do you use Upwork? It's the simplest way to start a relationship with us.
Absolutely.
And transparency, protection, etc.
So let's talk about also, is all your jobs by invitation only? Are you still applying? Talk about your lead gen activity on Upwork itself.
Yeah. And it's funny because and maybe it's just because of what I do. I do B2B work, I do strategy work, and I do my best work if it's a complex sale. So it's a certain subset of clients that are really, really good for me. So I will be the first to tell you, my most recent contract was an invite that I accepted. But for the most part, I find that I'm better at finding the people that I want to work with. Sometimes when they invite me, I'm like, I really appreciate it. I got a great invitation 10 days ago from a company that sells metal detectors online. And I flat out told them, look, I have a metal detector. I think it's super cool what you do, but I only work with B2B clients. So I appreciate the invite. I'm not going to follow up on it. So for me, no, when I need a new client, I'm going to go after it. And that's going to be true 90% of the time.
So how many applications do you send in a month? I mean, you said it's, seasonal in the sense that when I need the clients, I'm going to spend the effort. Talk to us a little bit about that, because it's not uncommon. Of course, you get busy with clients, things, but then you start to look at the pipeline, like, wait a minute, I got to start working my pipeline up a little bit. So what does that kind of look like when you're starting to build that pipeline up?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with what you said there when you're starting to build it up, right? So one of the lines that one of my friends who's also a freelancer told me, and he stole this line from somebody else, which is, you always want to be scared of your pipeline. You want to be like, if I land all this, life's going to be really, really hard. And so when I have probably as recently as within the past year, like, I kind of have a pretty good spidey sense when a client's getting ready to tail off, the workload's trying to come off a little bit. So like, I am not intimidated at all by sending out 10 proposals a week. But by the same token, I'm paying attention to the pipeline. So for instance, the last contract that I brought on board, I had a small contract that ended. That was a really great contract for 6-7 months. And when I saw it was tailing off, I was like, okay, I want to get another one for right around 5 hours a week. And so as I saw it, I knew it was going to tail off. So about 3 weeks before, I went online. And to your point, like it takes a little searching to find the people that are willing to pay the rates for the type of work that I do. So I think what I ended up doing was sending about 12 proposals in the span of 2 weeks, and landed one of those, and now that filled up the pipeline again. And right now I'm comfortably full. So for the past week, I haven't looked at any gigs, but it's knowing where the pipeline is and then where you are in the season. So in a given month, I will do anywhere from 0 to 20 proposals. But
yeah. And I think there's a slight difference in the fact that you don't need, because of the rates that you charge, particularly of the engagements, that you just need the right client. So you don't need, that's probably more important is the selection process. And
100%.
as opposed to, okay, I'm going to put out 100 proposals this month because my service rate is so low, right? I do think there is a correlation between what you charge and the amount of pipeline activity you have to do. And so, with that said, your selection of client, I think, is a very important lesson for all freelancers, is to really spend time focusing in on the attributes. And let me ask you about that, because, one of the things that I think some people struggle with is they look at these job descriptions out there, and they're kind of all over the board, So when you're looking at jobs to apply to, are there certain elements that you kind of zero in on that you know that over time, these characteristics, these attributes mean this is more of a serious client versus someone who's not serious?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so the first thing that I look at is I'm always paying attention to how active are they on the platform? Do they really know what Upwork's about and how it works? And like there's kind of a sweet spot in the middle, right? You've got people that are brand new to Upwork who, quite frankly, have had great experience with.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also have these people that like they've hired like 500 people on Upwork, and I'm like, okay, that's probably not a good fit for me. Like,
Right.
I love when I can see, hey, listen, they've hired 5 or 6 people, they know the platform, they know what's all about there. The second thing that I'm looking for is, did they take the time to be relatively detailed in what they're looking for? Not required, but I will tell you that I love it when they put what their company name is or put a link in, because I am one of those people that I'm not going to send you a generic proposal. I'm going to send you a proposal based on what I can learn about you. And the more information that you put in there, the more that I can tailor what my proposal looks like. And then the first thing that I think is always, this is kind of one of my tricks that I'll look for is, if they put something specific in there, I do like them to know that I'm a strategic thinker. So sometimes I will literally look for something that I can politely disagree with.
Yes.
So like an example that comes to mind is, this one just stays with me. It was a very old contract, but they were looking for content help, and so they were looking for they were looking for help on the SEO side, and they're like, hey, we want somebody who really understands how Ahrefs works, and Ahrefs, fine software. But I wrote back, I was like, oh, that's interesting you're using that. I actually prefer SEMrush. Here's why. Doesn't matter. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I think those are the types of things that they go, oh, you read my proposal. But I also want them to know that, like, the way I work is I work through dialogue, and we work on solutions together. I don't want them to see, oh yeah, I'm just going to do exactly what you ask for, because I think human nature being what it is, and this gets into what I think sometimes inexperienced freelancers might get wrong, is most of the people are going to respond and say, I'll do exactly what you're asking for, which is fine, but now you're not standing out, right? You're now 20 other people are saying, I'll do exactly what you ask for. So sometimes I like to be like, okay, that's an interesting approach. here's how I might do something a little bit different with that.
Yeah, I actually picked up a client one time when we were active on Upwork. They wanted to do something with Monday.com and Salesforce.com. And I was like, this is the worst idea possible. Okay. And here's why. Okay. I literally, like, sometimes you just get to that point of frustration and you're looking at it going, this is not, you are very naive and this is not smart. And so literally the cover letter was, let me tell you why this is a really bad idea.
100%. 100%.
Boom, boom, message back. I saw what you said. Please tell me what you mean. And I'm like, well, I'm more than happy. So I think that is such good advice because you're right. If you are someone who is just, I'll take any work, I'll do exactly what you said, that sense of desperation devalues the value proposition that you can provide to them, right?
Absolutely.
As opposed to someone who's thinking a little differently, who's trying to enhance what you're trying to achieve. Because, our philosophy about clients on Upwork, clients just need someone that they can trust. Okay. That's first and foremost. All right. And trust is really hard to build. And it takes a good profile. It takes a good proposal. It takes a demeanor that says, I'm trying to help you achieve what you are looking for and earnest desire towards that. These are all little trust factors that build up over time. Right. And so I think that, when you are devaluing the idea of, being, helpful, I'll just do what you tell me. You're really just, you're putting, shooting yourself in the foot. Okay.
Correct.
I want to move on a little bit because where you are now, I know many freelancers aspire to be. Okay. You're definitely at an inflection point. I reviewed your profile, by the way. I do a lot of profile reviews. There's lots of things I would say you need to improve on, but here's the point. You're at a level now where the profile matters, but not as much. It's the experience, the work history, it's the ratings, it's the fact that you are charging $200 an hour and feel comfortable telling clients that. In other words, you have matured in your Upwork experience. And that, I think, is, we all want to be there because, it's a heck of a lot easier sending 20 proposals a month than 200 proposals a month. So
100%.
But that's not how you started.
Right.
You, like everybody else, was fresh-faced on the platform, no jobs, no reviews. What was it in the beginning that you were doing, and how did you find that initial traction when you were just fresh on the platform?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, the very first contract that I got was a $100 fixed rate contract. I do very little fixed rate work at all. But somebody had been suspended from Google, which is a fascinating thing, because if you've had your Google AdWords account suspended, it's one of those things that they are intentionally opaque about it, because they figure, well, if you learn why we suspended you and you change it, we'll just suspend you again. But I'd worked for a high-end agency, and so I had a lot of insight into what are and these people were like, we just don't know what happened to us. So I flat out told them, I'm not going to be able to tell you what you did, but I've dealt with these problems before, and I'll just take a look at your site and I'll tell you, here's what I think you did. Maybe if you unring that bell, you'll be okay. So $100 fixed rate contract, and that was fine. And the advice on a lot of people say, well, don't start with the cheap stuff, don't start with the small stuff. And I think to a certain extent that's true. But it's also true, you want to get some reviews, right? You just want to get the flywheel going. So that's why I did it, and I don't regret it. Now, from there, what I did is I do pride myself on, even though today I do strategy and execution today, but it's a lot easier, I think, when you're starting out, if you do focus on execution. And in my case, that was marketing automation. I've been in the marketing automation space forever, and also, and this has also been one of the things that, this is my little secret, my back door into how I get strategy work, is when you do marketing automation work, marketing automation software doesn't do anything without content. Content doesn't work if you don't have strategy. Well, I know how to do marketing automation. I know how to do content. I know how to do strategy. So I didn't look for strategic work on Upwork. I looked for marketing automation work. And then when I got under the hood, I'm like, well, let me tell you why your marketing automation isn't working, because your content is terrible. So let's talk about your content. So one of the things that I think about is that you can, on Upwork, there are a lot of people that are looking for tactical execution. when I was starting out, I wasn't trying to get strategy work. I was trying to get reviews because of exactly what you said. You're absolutely right. And I look at my Upwork profile periodically and I'm like, yeah, I could probably do a little bit better here. But you and I both know the number one reason people hire me now is because of all the reviews and all the ratings. So what does all that mean? It means I start tactically for a solution that I'm uniquely positioned to fill, but that also might lead to follow-on work. And that first contract that I got on Upwork, the first hourly contract, it was $50 an hour, but it was 10 hours a week, and I kept that client for a year. So once you have them, okay, now you just layer more of that on top, and raise your rate every time you finish a contract. Raise your rate.
Okay, that was really important what you just said. I love what you just said. Raise your rate. Okay.
As soon as you win a job, raise your rate. I did that. I did that all the way up to when I got to 150. I don't know if it was my own head trash or reality, but then I kind of like getting to 180. I felt like that took a little bit longer than I would like. But I'm still doing it now. And I made the decision a few months ago. Okay, nope, it's going to be 200. And my most recent contract that I have is 200. So that's.
And you're using the hourly tracker from Upwork?
Yeah. Which everyone, which is that's a really weird question, right? And and everyone tells me like, oh, that's terrible. You're leaving money on the table. And I think one of the mistakes that people get wrong when they talk about fixed rate work is if you're going to take fixed rate work, there's an assumption in there that you're a pretty good project manager and you know how to manage your time. And I think that for a lot of people, partially me, it's an untrue assumption, right? I don't want to be worrying about, did I underbid on work? Did I overbid on work? I have just really embraced this idea of if I can sell you on my hourly rate and you buy into the value that I'm bringing, we don't have any more conversations about scope. Like I literally just sent a email to a client this morning, said, by the way, we're going to exceed the contract this week. Here's your options. You can pay me for those extra hours, or we can change the hours. But just so you know, I'm stopping. Like that's just how I run my business. But yeah, I truly believe that some of the worst advice out there is to tell people, oh, fixed rate is the only way to make money on Upwork. It drives me crazy. And I totally support anyone who finds the way that works for them. But the idea that you can't make money off the hourly contract, I just find is totally ridiculous.
Well, let me push back on that just for a second. Clients often want to know how much is it going to cost me to get to X, right? Yeah. And so the fixed rate generally becomes kind of the default. Well, you said it's going to cost, $1,000, and so now I can budget for that. When you do charge hourly, though, well, it may be $1,000, it may be $800, it may be $1,500. So how do you kind of navigate that with clients when clients are asking how much is this going to cost? Or is it because of the way you position your services, it is so strategic in nature that it's fairly well defined? Talk to us a little bit about how you navigate
absolutely. That. And the answer really is the second part. It's how I position my services. Now, all that being said, I have done fixed rate work before. And so when I have done it, the conversation is often, okay, so you're willing to pay $2,000 for this. And it's telling them, okay, but I'm going to still back into that. Okay, so if you're willing to pay $2,000, that tells me that I'm going to get pretty grumpy if I'm putting more than 10 hours into it. So now I'm trying to figure out in my mind, how can I do this for 10 hours? And then I come back to them and I'll say, look, I feel pretty confident we can get it done in 10 hours. Oh, by the way, here's what may not happen because you're putting me in this $2,000 box. I may not be able to add this layer or that layer.
Yeah.
But the real answer to your question, Sean, is I avoid those conversations. I look for hourly work and I look for people that understand that mindset.
Yeah.
I've done fixed rate work and quite frankly, I don't like it as much because, I think the answer for all these things, especially when it comes to creative work, is like, the answer is, it takes what it's going to take. And if you want to put me into a budget box, that's fine. But then I'm also going to put you into an output box.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, one of the techniques we do recommend is that if we're, going into a fixed rate style environment, or they really are demanding it, charge for discovery up front so you can help scope the project. Put definitive put milestones out there, but the only hard price is the next milestone.
Yeah.
Meaning that milestones 2, 3, 4, 5 may have, here's an estimate for them. I know what milestone number 1 is going to cost, but we're going to give a budgetary range for 2, 3, 4, because when we get through with milestone 1, we can look back at the price, because I've been burned on fixed rate as well. I think everybody has to some extent. But clients, especially in app development, which is what we specialized in, how much is my app going to cost to build?
Yes.
I think that you're right. Most people are terrible at project management, project scoping. And even if you're perfect at it, the client's still going to change their mind. So charge for discovery, small amount, shows the client is serious. And then definitive on milestone 1 cost, but milestones beyond that have estimates that we will finalize as we get through that milestone. That's generally our recommendation.
100%. And here's the thing, like the proper way to sell an app on Upwork is exactly that. You would charge for discovery, and then you might charge for wireframes, or you might charge for an MVP. But this kind of goes back to my central point, which is if you're let's say you're a good app developer, okay? Not many app developers are good at project scope and doing that. So now the question becomes, okay, do I want to get good at justifying my hourly rate, or do I want to become a good project manager? And my hypothesis is it might be easier for you to figure out how to get paid your hourly rate than to figure out all that stuff.
And I love the fact that you're using the Upwork time tracker. I mean, even someone at your level with your earnings and the amount that you charge, you're still putting that in there, because there is the added benefit that, Upwork can be an intermediary when there are disputes that occur.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way as a freelancer to have a chance of winning that dispute is by over documenting things, right? Messages on platform, time tracked in there. Not always 100%. We've heard stories of people getting burned, but if you're not doing it, well, you are hamstringing yourself in the event there's ever a dispute that comes up.
Yeah, and I don't know how true this is, but I know where I am in my mind is like I flat out tell them, look, it's going to take a screenshot every 10 minutes if you want to see what I'm doing. So one of the things that I'm getting at is I charge this high hourly rate, but look, if you truly want to look over my shoulder and look at every screenshot, go for it. And my gut says I don't think anyone ever looks at those screenshots, but it gives me confidence in selling myself to that look, you want to see what I'm doing? There it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say on the client side, there has been a couple of contractors I wish I'd forced them to use the time tracker.
Right.
I think you're charging me a few, when you're rounding to 8 hours in a day, I'm pretty sure that's not the case. So.
100%. Yeah, and my clients, the other thing is most people in my space, especially the fractional CMOs who are not on Upwork, okay, they're going to come to you and they're going to say, okay, I'm going to charge you a flat retainer for this. I'm literally helping somebody right now find someone, and that's 100%. Whereas what I'm going to say to them is, hey, listen, bring me on at 10 hours a week. Oh, by the way, you're not going to get billed 10 hours a week unless I use all 10.
Yeah.
So you're going to see 7 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, 8 hours. And so a couple things happen there. First off, it's the transparency. But the second thing is I'm able to show them, look, I'm literally billing you for what you use. And then the third thing is, and again, these are things that I think my clients think, but who knows? I've never tested this, is the idea that at the end of the month, they probably in a budget somewhere budgeted 40 hours for Marcus Grimm. And now they see what their outlay was. And, oh, you know what? He actually only billed us for 33%. Well, suddenly I'm 25% less than the budget number they've already approved.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I wish my lawyer had a time tracker that I could see. Just saying.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic advice. So, speaking of advice, as we come to the end of this, you need to time travel back. Now, 5 years ago, the world was about to come into a pandemic. Freelancing absolutely
It was in a pandemic.
skyrocketed.
That's why I lost my job.
It was a good time to be a freelancer because the world was in lockdown. But going back to your earlier self today,
Yeah.
what advice would you tell your earlier self, and to help you get going? Because in the very beginning it is hard,
Yeah.
and you're taking work like you did that you're like, I can't believe I'm just getting $100. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What would be that advice to our audience and to yourself starting out again?
Yeah. So the three things that I would say. The first is volume. I can't tell you how many people have told me what's wrong with Upwork, and then I ask them, and they've maybe applied to 3 gigs, right? And the example I always give is, I go back to Amazon. Like if you go onto Amazon and it was your first time ever, you would be like, I can't find what I'm looking for, right? Because the algorithm has to learn what works for you. So, like, the first thing is you got to be on there a lot. And that means you're going to have to look at a lot of jobs, and you're going to apply for a lot of jobs. And that's going to train the Upwork algorithm into, here's what you're looking for, and here's what may be appropriate for you. So there's no way to shortcut that I know of. So you absolutely need to be on there, and you need to be applying for a lot. The second thing that I would talk about is profile optimization, and tools like you have. They weren't available 5 years ago. Now, the good news for a guy like me is I spent my 20s in sales. I do a lot of SEO work, so I went into it with a decent mindset of what an optimized profile looks like. But again, we're in this wonderful world now with AI where you guys can simplify that for somebody who doesn't have those skills or that background that I had. And then the third thing, and this will just make people scream up in arms as well, is Upwork Connects. Okay. And again, I don't look, I get it. I get why people don't like paying for Connects, but I coach people on marketing strategy. And if you're looking to grow your revenue super fast, I'm going to tell you to run Google AdWords. It's just a way to jump to the front of the line. Now, we can complain about what's wrong with Connects. We can complain about the fact that we're not converting off of, but it is the get in front of the line button from Upwork. So I will tell you right now that I don't know the last time I sent a proposal that I did not pay for Connects. Now, again, it's all contextual, right? I've got a high hourly rate, so I can justify that. So I don't want to sound like I'm not empathetic to people that are chasing smaller jobs, but you do need to understand that you need to do two things. You need to impress the client, and you got to outperform everybody else who's trying to impress the client. And Connects are just the shortcut that Upwork gives you for that.
So you boost your proposals.
100%.
And do you boost your profile as well?
I have. I personally didn't feel like it made a difference. One of the things we talked about is the quality of the invites. That I think I got more invites, but they weren't any better.
Yeah.
But I boost my proposals. And again, like, the way I justify it is I'm charging $200 an hour, right? And I don't use AI for my proposals. I tend to write. I think one of the ways I win is by really being specific when I respond. But the way I think about it is this. Okay, so if I'm a $200 an hour guy, if I spend 20 minutes on that proposal, okay, that's like $65. Why would I not pay $7 more or $10 more to make sure that $65 investment gets a payback for me?
Yeah.
Like, I'm one of those people, and this is one of my soapbox lines for marketing strategy is content is hard, syndication is easy. So once I've invested 20 minutes into that proposal, well, if I can invest a little bit more to make sure it's at the top, that's almost always a good investment.
So, and I appreciate you saying that, because, I mean, first off, 20 proposals a month, definitely a doable amount, right? 200, slightly different. But I will also say you're a trained writer as well, okay?
Right.
And there is and I think that many people who are in the technical skills, which is a big part of our audience, they're writing frameworks. You know what they are. You know how to structure a conversation. When you do apply to jobs.
Can I say one more thing about that,
Yeah.
please? 100%. One of the things that I like to say about myself is my biggest strength is I know my weaknesses. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were asking me about hourly rate, what I was really reflecting is I know one of my weaknesses is I'm not the best project manager. So I'm not the best scoper. So that changes why I go after hourly work. Same thing with proposals. I happen to be pretty good there. It is one of my strengths. So I don't, but you got to realize, like, if you are a technical person and that's one of your weaknesses, that's the weakness you need to backfill.
Exactly. And I just think that it's fantastic in the way that you approach this, and especially about connect costs. It is the cost. You have to spend connects just to apply to a job in general. But as you point out, $7 more to get to the front of the line, $10 more to get to the front of the line. Yes.
Right.
I mean, so I think that, if you are serious about being successful on Upwork, you will be serious about your commitment. You will apply. You will take the time to make your profile good. You will take the time to write engaging cover letters. You will take the time to spend money on connects and budget for them. Because in the beginning, it's hard as heck to make that happen.
100%.
But then the flywheel starts, and then eventually you'll be like Marcus, where you're waiting to hit that $1 million threshold. So
I'm hoping. Yes, sir.
Marcus, thank you so much for your insights, wisdom, and sharing it with our audience today. We really appreciate it, sir.
Absolutely, Sean. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for watching the video. And if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel here. More importantly, if you found it useful, please share it with your friends. And one more thing, if you're looking for some great tools to help you succeed on Upwork, go check out Pouncer.ai. We think you'll like it.